Good morning and welcome to the sprawling urban jungle metropolis of Bangkok, located in the always amazing and always spectacular Thailand. We've had a great 3 nights here in Bangkok. First time visiting this massive city quite some time now. It's probably been around 10 years or over a decade since I've last been here. Really impressed with how far Bangkok's come in terms of urban development and infrastructure and that sort of stuff. It's very easy to get around on foot, as I have done, filming a walking tour, all that sort of stuff, seeing the main attractions, just lapping up the whole scale of the massive city. So yeah, really been great visiting Bangkok, and the hospitality is absolutely second to none here as well. The people are just that friendly and hospitable. Sure, Bangkok can certainly still be a chaotic city. You don't have to look far to see the pretty hectic traffic. But yeah, it's very easy to get around. Sure, it's got the wild side of things if you want to seek that out, but you're certainly not going to be confronted with it if you don't want to seek it out. So that's really good to know these days. It's certainly not the hassle to visit that it used to be. That's just my opinion. But anyway, great time here in Bangkok. But yeah, going to be a very exciting day today. We're flying to a brand new destination and a brand new airline for the very first time. We're flying EVA Air all the way over to Taipei in Taiwan. It's going to be about a 4-hour flight today on a Boeing 787-10 Dreamliner. And yeah, EVA Air, I've heard really good things about this airline. They're generally considered to be a 5-star airline according to most of the rankings. So that puts them in a very elite, small group of airlines that sort of have this 5-star status. So yeah, really expecting good things with EVA Air today. A really solid full service experience I'm expecting. And yeah, it's going to be exciting getting on a wide body again after a string of narrow body flights. So yeah, the EVA Air flight did cost a bit above, quite a lot above what the sort of AirAsia and those sort of airlines are charging, but around $300 plus an extra $30 for seat selection, which is a bit pricey. But overall, I still thought it was a pretty good price I'm paying for this airfare. So yeah, it's going to be about a 4-hour flight. So yeah, without further ado, let's head to the Bangkok Suvarnabhumi Airport now. It is going to be peak hour, so I'm hoping I'll still be able to get there in around an hour or so. Hopefully the traffic isn't too chaotic. So yeah, without further ado, let's head to the Bangkok Airport now. There is lots and lots of priority pass lounges at Bangkok Airport. Pity my financial institution only allows 4 visits a year now, not unlimited like it used to be, so I won't be able to check them all out. But there's a Turkish Airlines lounge there, there's an Oman Air Lounge, and there's also the Air France KLM Sky Lounge as well. So yeah, definitely hoping to check out one of the latter 3. Depending on which concourse the flight leaves from and how I'm going for time will probably influence which one I go to. But yeah, without further ado, let's now head to the airport and come and experience hopefully one of those lounges. And yeah, come experience this, what should be a great experience on EVA Air as we fly the 4-hour journey over to Taipei in Taiwan later today. Now as we make our way to the airport, just a little bit of route information about our flight up to Taipei today. It's going to be around a 4-hour scheduled flight, although in reality it only takes around 3 hours and 15 minutes with a great circle distance of around 2,500 kilometres, taking us in a northeasterly direction over to Taiwan. Originally, the flight actually technically operates and originates from Vienna in Austria, connecting in Bangkok, where it arrives a couple hours before we depart for our flight to Taipei today. So yeah, it originates in Vienna, connects through Bangkok, and then obviously continues on to Taipei. So very, very interesting routing this flight indeed. Getting to Bangkok Suvarnabhumi Airport is not an overly difficult task. It's approximately about a 30 to 35 kilometre journey depending on where you're staying in the city. Depending on traffic conditions, generally allow yourself in the range of 30 minutes to an hour to get to the airport, although with really bad traffic can take even longer. Today we're flying out in the morning. I was expecting quite heavy peak hour traffic, but in fact I was actually travelling in the opposite direction of the traffic, so I was here in a little over half an hour. Getting to the airport, I just recommend booking a Grab, which is a local Southeast Asian version of Uber essentially. Cost 450 baht this ride today, or around 20 Australian dollars. All very easy getting a ride in most Southeast Asian cities with Grab. Saves yourself the hassle of, bartering or worrying about, getting overcharged in a taxi or something. So yeah, that's definitely the way I recommend travelling in countries like Indonesia, Thailand, or Malaysia, or Singapore, for example. Upon arrival at Bangkok Suvarnabhumi Airport, I can't help but notice it very much is like how I remembered it from around 15 years back since I last visited Bangkok here in Thailand. It's absolutely massive airport. Immediately prior to the pandemic in 2019, passenger numbers maxed out at around 65 million yearly passenger movements. Post pandemic, the numbers quite haven't fully recovered yet, but yeah, it's rapidly getting back to normal nonetheless. I was saying, but yeah, pity not. EVA Air is located outside at door 9, which might be a good thing to remember if you're getting dropped off. So yeah, a little bit of a walk over to door 9, but that's certainly not the end of the world. Immediately after entering door 9, which is the second last door towards the end of the terminal, can't help but notice the EVA check-in is literally right there. So that's a really convenient start to the journey already. Even better, it's looking like the EVA check-in is really empty this morning. Really quite surprised, to be honest, because usually when I rock up for these big sort of international airline flights right on the 3-hour check-in window before the flight, usually everyone has the same idea and they're really long queues as a result. But yeah, today it's really empty. You do have a choice of either self-serve kiosk or manned check-in. I believe, however, if you do have luggage, you will definitely have to go to a manned check-in regardless. Really smooth process here today with EVA. I just needed to confirm that I had an onward ticket out of Taiwan, and yeah, you don't need a visa for an Australian citizen to travel to Taiwan. So yeah, it was all very easy, and only a few minutes after entering the Bangkok Suvarnabhumi Airport terminal, I was all checked in and ready to travel to Taiwan today. After checking in, I discovered that there's a public observation deck landside here at Suvarnabhumi Airport, so I'm eager to go and check out that now. Once I arrive up the top, I notice there is views out over the airport tarmac, but they're nothing too amazing, to be honest. So yeah, I wouldn't really bother making too much of an effort to get here early to check it out. Although yeah, you could spend a few minutes getting a view here. What probably is the more interesting view is actually looking back down over the absolutely massive check-in departures hall. So yeah, I actually found that the more interesting part of the observation deck itself. Here at Bangkok Suvarnabhumi Airport, you're going to be absolutely spoilt for lounge choices. If you're a Priority Pass member like me, or indeed you've got Lounge Key or Dragon Pass or a member of one of those sorts of schemes, you're going to find there's so many lounges that you can try here at Bangkok's massive airport. There's over 12 Priority Pass lounges alone. And the best part of these is that not all just contract or independent lounges. Not saying they are bad. Some of them are of a very good standard, especially like the Plaza Premiums and that sort of stuff. But yeah, you also got 3 airline lounges itself that you can visit a part of Priority Pass. So these are the Oman Air Lounge, the Turkish Airlines Lounge, and also the Air France KLM Sky Lounge. Today I've been tossing up which one to visit. My flight is actually departing from Pier D, which in theory would be closest to the Turkish Airlines Lounge. But yeah, I'm leaning towards going to the Oman Airlines Lounge. So what I'm just going to do now is I'm going to just check how far the distance is from the Oman Lounge to the gate. And yeah, I can confirm it's about a 10 to 15 minute walk depending on how fast you walk. So yeah, happy to go to the Oman Airlines Lounge today. And yeah, just allow a bit of extra time to get to the gate if you're flying EVA Air. So ultimately, when it came to choosing to decide to try the Oman Air Lounge, there was 3 key considerations that came into play. First, my fans on the YouTube community tab seem to resonate with the idea of the Oman Air Lounge. Visiting that came up on top in a poll. Secondly, it's quite a unique airline for me. Oman Airlines, haven't really been exposed to it very much in the past. Certainly haven't tried them. So yeah, really was keen to try out what a Middle Eastern airline lounge would be like. And yeah, thirdly, apparently they're one of the only few Priority Pass airline lounges in the world that serve champagne. So I thought, why not? Let's give it a try. Interestingly, Oman Air only have 2 daily services to Muscat. So yeah, I think it's pretty marginal how they could justify having a lounge here in Bangkok in the first place. But I guess having been a part of the Priority Pass lounge scheme probably is a way to recoup some of those costs. Anyway, once I arrive at the Oman Air Lounge here at Bangkok's Pier, really unusual using Priority Pass to check into actual airline lounge. Only really done that before for the Rex Airlines Lounge in Sydney and Melbourne. First impressions are pretty good. The staff at the front really efficiently checked me in. So yeah, in terms of the food and drink selection, the food selection itself is fairly minimal, to be honest. There's nothing too much in the way of substantial food offerings. However, there's plenty of stuff to snack on, and it definitely has a Middle Eastern flavour to it, as you would expect in an airline lounge such as Oman Air. I just opted for a couple of packed sandwiches, which yeah, were okay, but they weren't nothing amazing either. In terms of drinks, there's a small self-service drink fridge which has a modest range of canned soft drinks and bottled water, in addition to your usual Thai beers. Probably the most impressive thing about the drinks is the wine, which includes champagne, which must be one of the few lounges, Priority Pass lounges in the world to have champagne. The Champagne Lombard, which a bit of Googling reveals costs about $75 a bottle in Australia. So that's absolutely nothing to sneeze at. Pretty darn good in anyone's books to be able to drink that sort of stuff in just a Priority Pass lounge. Anyway, the lounge itself, I don't mind it. Doesn't have a huge amount of natural light, and it doesn't have any tarmac views, unfortunately. But yeah, it's a pretty cozy, sort of comfortable lounge. Certainly wasn't that busy when I was there. Good range of seating options as well. Though if you were there to sort of work, this might not be the lounge for you, as there's not a huge amount in the way of working spaces. If you're the sort of person that constantly likes to keep up with the news, you've definitely found the right lounge. They've got BBC News on the TV and a range of magazines and newspapers, including the local Bangkok Post and several publications coming from Oman itself. So yeah, it was quite a strange juxtaposition reading the Omani newspapers with a glass of champagne in hand. Actually quite enjoyed having a read through the local press. Anyway, as boarding is soon to commence for our flight to Taipei, we better finish up that very drinkable glass of champagne and head over to the gate. But yeah, in conclusion, what would I say about the Oman Air Lounge here in Bangkok? I'd say it's a pretty decent lounge as a priority pass lounge. However, I do make the distinction, if I was visiting as a paid up, business class passenger on Oman Air who's paid thousands of dollars for a business class flight, to be honest, I probably would be a little bit disappointed with the lounge. The catering, there was no sort of a la carte catering, and the food and beverage options were pretty limited in the grand scheme of things. So yeah, probably mixed opinions on the Oman Air Lounge here in Bangkok. But yeah, if you've got priority pass, it's absolutely well worth checking out indeed. And yeah, as we pass the Turkish Airlines lounge there that I could have visited, I do notice that it closed up at 11 a.m. So if I had visited there, I would have been kicked out before it was time to board. So yeah, I think I definitely made the right decision checking out the Oman Air Lounge. Although next time when I'm travelling through Bangkok, I might be sure to check out the Air France Lounge just for comparison's sakes. As I alluded to before, if you are heading to the Pier from the Oman Air Lounge, allow yourself a good 15 minutes or so to get to the gate, most specifically gate D3, where our flight today is departing from. Along the way, I can't help but notice some interesting aircraft out there on the tarmac. The Aeroflot Boeing 777 heading back to Moscow, and that Miami Airways International A320 heading to probably either Rangoon or Mandalay. Two interesting airlines that you certainly won't probably be flying in western skies anytime soon. Anyway, now that we're pretty well at the entrance of the gate, before we head downstairs, let's have a look at our aircraft in more detail, taking us over across the South China Sea to Taipei this morning and early afternoon. It's a Boeing 787-10 delivered direct to EVA Air in July 2019, putting it at 4.2 years of age when taking this flight. Registration number B17802. So yeah, a very sleek looking 787 Dreamliner out there indeed. And just like that, where a minimum of fuss, boarding is called on time and in a very orderly and efficient process. And just like that, to get onto the Aero Bridge from the gate here in Bangkok, all you got to do is scan your boarding pass at those self-serve sensors, and on the Aero Bridge you go for our aircraft taking us to Taipei today. So yeah, welcome on board our EVA Air 787 Dreamliner today. It's a really modern, new looking plane. You'll find there's a total of 342 seats on this plane, with 34 in business class or Loro class as we're walking through now. In business class, you'll find there's a 1-2-1 layout comprising of these beautifully designed lie flat seats. In business class, you have a very, very generous seat pitch of 44 to 45 inches with a width of 23. Now we're sitting in regular economy class today, where there's 308 seats in a free configuration. Economy seat pitch is pretty generous as well, definitely one of the more generous airlines. Seat pitch comes in at a very respectable 31 to 32 inch seat pitch with a width of 17.7. So once you take your seat in economy class here on EVA Air, I definitely notice it's a very well designed seat, a pretty comfortable seat overall. So yeah, as I said before, seat pitch is pretty darn good in my opinion, probably better than average. So yeah, at your seat you'll also find packed blanket as well, which is really good. In terms of the tray table, it's a double folding tray table, so that's really convenient depending on whether you want to just have a drink or have a meal or use a laptop. You've got plenty of options to optimize it for its most convenient use. You also got a very decent in-flight entertainment screen, quite a big one. Looks quite modern and responsive as well. It's also got USB power outlets at your disposal as well. And then the window shades are, in theory at least, adjustable by the user as well, so you can turn them to all the different shades of darkness, but the cabin crew can obviously lock that if they feel like it. Now, as the pilot finalises his preparation for a takeoff today out of Bangkok, and we watch his very, very impressive futuristic and high-tech in-flight safety demonstration, just like to further remark on the seat selection process itself. It cost me around $30 to reserve a standard window seat here for this relatively short flight on EVA Air. Well, that was a little bit disappointing, a little bit rich to charge so much for such a relatively short flight. Though I do acknowledge many of the other full service carriers are pretty well adopting the same practice these days. On the flip side, at least I got the middle seat free as well between me and the passenger on the aisle. So yeah, at least that gave me plenty of space. But yeah, just going back to that in-flight safety demonstration video, very, very cool one. One of the best I've definitely seen on any airline. Really, really watchable indeed. So good on EVA Air for making safety really, really fun on this airline. But now let's get ready as we push back now. What better time now just to sit back, relax and enjoy. So you push out a gate, a D3. It's going to be a long taxi out to the runway at the massive Bangkok Suvarnabhumi Airport. So yeah, just enjoy all the aircraft on the tarmac there as we taxi out to the runway. And yeah, enjoy our beautiful takeoff out of Bangkok today. And once in the air, I'll then start going over my thoughts and feedback on today's in-flight service and some of the other features and amenities on today's service. So now that we're in the air and cruising well and truly out over Vietnam and soon about to cross over the South China Sea, what better time now to have a look at the in-flight entertainment offerings on today's flight. So on EVA Air's Dreamliners, which also fly to many of their long-haul destinations in North America and Europe, you'll find a very reasonably sized in-flight entertainment screen, a very modern and a responsive touchscreen as well. You've got a pretty good, although certainly not excessively extensive range of movies, TV shows, documentaries, music, all that sort of stuff. You've also got an in-flight moving map. So yeah, pretty good range of entertainment overall on EVA Air, although I have seen certainly more extensive ranges of shows on airlines such as Emirates and Singapore Airlines. But yeah, there's still enough to watch on the flight. So yeah, I don't think you need to load up your own device worrying that there won't be anything to watch. Another thing I also really like about EVA Air's IFE system is that you can preview the food and beverage offerings available on the flight before the trolley gets used. So yeah, really good idea having it up on the IFE. So yeah, today we can see today's lunch options and the two mains that are available, and we also see the variety of drinks that we can get at our disposal during out the flight. So that's really good to know. I think it's just a good idea all round, really solves any confusion and also speeds up the process when they come around with meals, as passengers already can make a decision as to what they want before the cart gets to them. So great idea, that one. You can also get in-flight internet on EVA Air. You do generally have to pay, however, in economy class. At a minimum, you can use it to read the in-flight magazine on voyage for free, however, which appears to have gone all digital these days. If you do want to opt for a Wi-Fi plan for economy class passenger, you can get a package starting from $5 that basically just gives you online texting functionality. Then there's various packages that go all the way up to $40 for a complete unlimited data for your flight. So yeah, if you want to get internet on your flight, especially if it's a longer flight, I would just suck it up, pay the $40 to get that unlimited data, because all other plans really have limited amounts of data. But yeah, in my opinion, it's still not worth paying it full stop, especially for such a short flight. But yeah, if you really can't live without the internet, it might be worth considering, especially for a longer flight. And just like that, not long after I could barely have a look at the in-flight entertainment system on this flight, the very efficient EVA Air crew spring into action with their lunch service. Today's flight, I opt for the former option, which is a pan-fried fish with garlic and ginger sauce, which comes served with a bed of steamed rice. On the side, you also get a bread roll, you also get a minced chicken salad, and you also get seasoned fruit. Overall, this is a very well presented meal, especially for economy class standards. It's a very high quality meal, also tastes really good as well. On the side, you also get a choice of a great range of beverages. I just order for beer. Haven't really tried Taiwanese beer before, and interestingly enough, I get a Taiwanese wheat beer called a Buxton. It was a really good tasting beer, one of the best beers I've had on a plane, to be honest. Not usually a wheat beer sort of a drinker, but I really enjoyed this one indeed. Interestingly enough, it came in a paper cup as well, which is an increasing trend in an environmentally conscious world. Now, as I go for a bit of a stroll around the aircraft, you can certainly see it's a nice, modern, clean, sleek looking aircraft cabin, very inviting indeed. And back at the seat, you can see it's a very comfortable seat here. Here's another glance of the in-flight moving map. Very clear and informative, definitely one of the better ones indeed. One of my favourite features on the Dreamliner is the adjustable window shades, where you can practically turn a light to day and day to dusk and dusk to dawn, and get all different sort of perceptions of how it looks outside. So that's really cool. On today's flight, most of the passengers after the lunch service very much dim their window shades, but I definitely don't think they were locked by the crew, so people were still free to adjust them any way they like, which I thought was probably more than appropriate for a short daytime flight. Probably on the overnight flights, I can understand why the crew would like to lock them in a darker mode. But yeah, just like that, we're gone from night to day again. Just let's try another one of the Taiwanese beers. This is Taiwan Gold Lager. Really good beer, this one. Another very full, flavoursome lager. So yeah, the two beers I've tried on EVA Air. Never tried Taiwanese beer before, and both of them are a winner. Now as I sit back, relax and settle in for the last few remaining hours of this flight, watching a couple documentaries as the window shades darken and the mood lighting reflects perception that we're in the middle of the night when it's actually broad daylight outside. Let me just offer a few initial thoughts on today's flight with EVA Air relative to the price I paid and expectations and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, for today's 3.5 to 4 hour gazetted flight, paid $297, which is not bad at all for a full service carrier, but you do have to keep in consideration it's probably double the price of AirAsia and other budget carriers on the route such as Thai Vietjet. But yeah, so for these reasons I had very, very high expectations coming into this flight. But yeah, so far so good. There's certainly been met on this flight. It's been a very, very enjoyable, comfortable flight overall so far, and the standard of the service and the amenities and all that provided on the flight have been very exceptionally good. So I'm not going to preempt fully my final AJ Aussie Jetsetter score index to this flight, but yeah, I can definitely say so far so good. We're heading towards a very strong final score for this flight indeed. And yeah, just like that, we now are rapidly approaching Taiwan now. As you can see on the in-flight entertainment screen, they have very, very strict biosecurity and quarantine and sort of other sort of customs regulations when flying into Taiwan. So make sure you follow these rules carefully. Just if you would fly into Australia, also have very, very strict rules to ensure pests and diseases and other sort of things don't damage the local environment and economy. So yeah, just be sure to familiarize yourself with the rules prior to landing. But yeah, with this very informative and mildly entertainment customs and regulations video, you really would have to be living under a rock to still stuff it up and get into trouble for taking and saying that you shouldn't, because it's all very well explained, clear as daylight in my opinion. Anyway, as we're now rapidly approaching Taiwan, and more specifically our approach into the metropolis of Taipei, which is located on the northern reaches of the island of Taiwan, what better time now just to sit back, relax and enjoy our amazing landing here into Taipei's Taoyuan International Airport today. And once on the ground, I'll then offer my final verdicts and thoughts on today's EVA service between Bangkok and Taipei, and ultimately offer and hand down my final Aussie Jetsetter AJ score index for this flight. So what better time now to just sit back, relax and enjoy our very, very interesting landing into Taipei this afternoon. like that, we arrived into a very hot and oppressive afternoon here at Taipei's Taiwan International Airport here in Taiwan. That was a really smooth flight with EVA Air today, and it was a really quick one as well. We certainly made up a lot of time in flight, actually arriving around half an hour early. So what more can I say about EVA Air today? I had a really great experience with them today. Had extremely high expectations, knowing they were a 5-star airline and a full service airline. So yeah, had very high expectations for EVA Air today, and yeah, they were very much well and truly met and exceeded. So often when you fly on airlines with such a high and esteemed reputation, often there's only one thing they can do, which is not meet your expectations. So yeah, when they actually meet and still exceed your expectations, that's a really amazing thing. Anyway, as we now disembark our very enjoyable 787 Dreamliner flight that's taken us up to Taipei today, let's not get carried away too much on lapping praise on EVA Air, because as with any review, before you can resort to giving a flawless review, you always got to exhaust all avenues for nitpicking first. And yeah, let's not preempt the outcome of our Aussie Jet Setter score index for this flight. So yeah, let's get straight into it now, and let's start with ground handling. So our experience with EVA Air today got off to an absolute dream start back in Bangkok this morning. Being able to check in straight away, being greeted by the sight of pretty well empty check-in counters was absolutely amazing. So certainly no complaints there. Once we did arrive in Taipei, however, if I was to resort to nitpicking, there was a bit of a wait for my bags to come. Maybe it was just because I cleared customs and immigration so efficiently, being one of the very few foreigners arriving at this airport. But yeah, it probably was around a 20-minute or so wait. I was waiting for my bags at the belt. So yeah, I'll give them a few marks off, and I'll give them 17 out of 20 for ground handling. Next up, we've got aircraft and seat condition, and wow, what can I say about EVA Air? It's an absolutely outstanding experience flying on their Boeing 787 Dreamliner. Such a dream come true that you can take such relatively short flights in Asia with such an amazing aircraft. The economy class experience on EVA Air is definitely one of the best economy class products I've ever experienced. The quality of the seating is really good. The leg room is pretty darn generous as well. And the overall aircraft and the cabin just feels really fresh, clean, modern. Love that mood lighting. It's really just a nice modern new aircraft. It's only 4 years old, so really hard to complain. Really hard to find any issues with it as well. And the free configuration makes it a little bit less cramped feeling than some other wide body aircraft. I'm probably not going to make a claim that it's the best economy class I've flown, but it's certainly well and truly up there. A very good cabin indeed, and definitely one of the best economy class experiences that you can get in the air at the moment, in my opinion. If I was to resort to a nitpicking, maybe I would reserve a perfect score of 20 if the aircraft and cabin was all of the above. Plus I got a free upgrade to business class. Maybe I would then whip out the 20 out of 20. But it was an absolutely solid experience on EVA Air today in this regard. So they get a very strong 18 out of 20. Next up, we've got crew and in-flight service, which obviously includes the in-flight meal service itself. And yeah, it was an absolutely very solid experience on EVA Air today. Really could not fault the crew. They were pretty close to flawless. The service was outstanding, yet very efficient at the same time. They very much have it pat down the way they operate their service on EVA Air, so that was really good. The catering was really good, very good meal. appreciate that you can see in advance, even before your flight, on the website what meals are available, and also on the IFE screens. That gives you a bit of advance notice of what you might expect. But yeah, the food was very well presented, it was well proportioned, tasted good, and yeah, the crew were friendly. They spoke reasonably good English as well, and yeah, they were very attentive to subsequent requests throughout the flight. So yeah, absolutely outstanding crew on EVA Air today, so I give them a solid 18 out of 20. Next up, we've got entertainment, and this is probably the one department on EVA Air there will be a slight drop in our overall score. Not because the in-flight entertainment system itself isn't good. The actual in-flight entertainment screen is absolutely amazing. It's one of the best IFE systems I've seen on a plane in economy class. So don't get me wrong, the IFE system itself is absolutely amazing. What did let it down, however, was, and not drastically let it down, but definitely let it down to some extent, was the in-flight entertainment, the actual variety of the offerings. There wasn't the most extensive range of English sort of language content. There was an okay range of movies and TV shows, but yeah, it certainly wasn't absolutely massive range of stuff that you see on similar entertainment systems on other airlines such as Emirates and Singapore Airlines. So maybe that's just nitpicking a bit, but yeah, it does see the score in this department come down slightly to a still reasonable 16 out of 20. And last but not least, we got value for money, and this is a little bit a hard one to assess for EVA Air in today's flight, in my opinion, because when you look at it at face value coming from an Australian perspective, any 4-hour flight on a 5-star airline with such a great experience like we had today for $300, how could you really argue that wasn't good value? That's absolutely great value. Back home in Australia, $300 would barely get you from Sydney to Melbourne, a 1-hour flight on Qantas these days. That being said, I've still got to be objective relative to the competition on this route, and there is a lot of competition on this route. Airlines such as AirAsia and Thai Vietjet can offer this service for often under half the price, even when you include all the optional extras that you got to pay extra. So yeah, it's all relative at the end of the day. You very much on this route are paying for the EVA experience. Similar also if you fly China Airlines on this route, either of those two airlines, you very much are paying for the reputation of these amazing airlines. But yeah, for me personally, do I have any regrets flying EVA Air today? Absolutely not. It was $300, absolutely well spent. But yeah, if maybe in another time, if I just wanted to save a bit of money and AirAsia was half the price, then yeah, maybe I'd fly AirAsia. But yeah, absolutely no regrets. Overall, a very, very good value money flight for today's flight in my opinion. So I give EVA Air a solid 16 out of 20 in the value for money department. And just like that, it's time to hand down a final Aussie Jet Setter score index for this flight, and unsurprisingly it comes in a very impressively high 85 out of 100, which I think is probably the highest rating I've given for any flight review yet that I've done on the channel. So absolutely amazing experience on EVA Air today. Very much had a lot of high expectations and had heard a lot of hype about this 5-star airline before today's flight. And yeah, very, very pleased to confirm that all these expectations were well and truly met. So yeah, absolutely amazing experience on EVA Air today. Really glad I've been able to show you such a brilliant flying experience in economy class today. And yeah, thank you very much for watching today as we're flying over to Taipei. Now as we make our way down the very modern and efficient Taipei Airport metro line, which is going to take us into the city of Taipei in a little under 35 minutes, costing just 150 new Taiwan dollars or around $7.50 Australian. could I just remember to ask you if you could please consider liking, subscribing and commenting on the channel. Really appreciate that. Just helps motivate me to produce better and better content for you guys as well. Also just helps that YouTube algorithm show my videos to more and more people who enjoy them like yourselves. And yeah, there's plenty more flight reviews coming up from my recent trip around Asia in the coming weeks and months, so be sure to stay tuned for those as well. In the meantime, you can also visit my website aussiejetsetter.com.au. Put a link to the socials in the description as well, where you can check out my dedicated socials such as my Instagram page for more short form content of where I am in real time around the world. You also enjoy and visit my Discord server for fans of the Aussie Jet Setter community to come back and talk all things aviation and travel, etc, etc. But until the next one, thank you very much for watching today's flight review as we're taking EVA Air all the way over to Taipei. Really hope you've enjoyed it. Until the next one, thank you very much for watching and safe travels wherever that might take you.